Welcome back, and I don't know about you guys, but I feel
You're
dirty.
muted.
I feel dirty.
Is he?
Wait, am I? No, I'm not.
Is he just not?
I'm not
channel?
muted. You're muted.
You're muted. Welcome
fine.
back to the OPL while Nick figures out his microphone. You are definitely
What the
muted,
hell?
my
We
friend.
can't hear you, Nick.
We cannot hear you at all. I don't
Fix
know
the
whether the
game.
stream can, but Rusty, a decisive
no.
victory for the Chiefs Esports Club in that game.
Disaster.
Yeah, it was. At a certain point, it started to feel like the Chiefs were just Uncle Drew. You know, they'd played the first 9 weeks of the OPL with some old man makeup on and decided to just hit the burners in that one. It was convincing from like level 2. That was all there is to it.
Absolutely
I just want to
was.
point out that the chat
And whilst
could
you
hear
can
me.
hear him, Twitch, we can't. And because he's not speaking to you, he's speaking to
Are
us.
you in our channel, Nick?
I don't
I'm
think
in
he
the
is.
channel, baby.
I just pinged him on Discord. I feel like
I'm
he's in
there.
the wrong one.
I'm there.
Wait.
Can you hear me? We're good.
Hello.
We're good. We're good. There we go.
Okay.
We're good now.
I could be heard. Fantastic. There you go. I mean, what are the odds that the first day we did this, flawless execution except for Rusty and the Wombat.
Yes.
Second day, total disaster. Yeah, that was a hell of a game. I felt like one of those businessmen who paid $50,000 to be able to watch a backpacker get murdered. Like at some point, it was just like, make it stop. This is brutal.
You can't, guys. You cannot pay for that. That is not a service that businessmen have.
Look, COVID, this world, come to my house, you can do whatever you want. So welcome back to the break. We are about to jump into game 6 for the evening, Legacy versus Direwolves. We have a couple more questions sent in. Now, do we want a really serious one, or do we want a really dumb one? I'm going to give it
Not
to
at this time,
Rusty.
not, surely.
Dumb one.
Dumb one? Okay, so MJ Carr? I don't know. Michael.
MJ Comedy? Michael Comedy?
Yeah. I'm a nail chewer and have heroically curbed this habit due to recent events. Actually used nail clippers to shorten my nails this morning. How do you stop the clippings flying off everywhere?
That's just poor technique, surely.
Poor technique. No, you get the occasional errant one flying up and hitting you in the
I don't
eye.
know. Whenever I do mine, I always get them some reason. Maybe it's just the way I do it. They're always clumped up in the nail cutter, and then at the end I just go, chick, and they all just perfectly slot into the bin. And I'm like, man,
so that's what I was going to say.
I am min-maxing
That's
life.
very fancy.
Skimmy has a nail clipper with a guard on the sides, obviously.
Yeah.
Has it got a black guard on the side of your
It
nail
doesn't.
clipper?
No,
It doesn't?
It's
Oh,
bare.
what?
It's nude.
And
It
you
gets the
still
job
can
done.
do
Pair of
that?
scissors. That's amazing.
Look,
you
mate.
should pay. People should be able to pay. Screw the backpack thing. People should be able to pay to just watch you clip your nails.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
a patron idea. Maybe I should do that. That's how I make my money.
So my answer to this, Nick, may be contentious, but you don't. You go outside, you sit on your deck or on your grass or whatever, and you just let them go wild. You just let
Nice.
them fly. Fly, my nail clippings.
that's
fly.
That's good. That's good.
No, I second
I
that
would
one,
just-
actually. I ship that.
You ship that too, Rusty?
Yeah.
You just walk down the street. The alternative is you could do it under running water. It does mean you need to dry your clippers thoroughly afterwards because they will rust. But running water will stop that from happening 100%. Well, there you go. That's something positive to have come out of all this. Would we say that COVID-19 has been worth it because of this? No, we wouldn't. Okay, so
Absolutely not.
during the pandemic, this one comes in from fan favorite Davo Erlo. During the pandemic, you have to open your house to one of your co-casters. Who do you choose? Ba-ba-boom.
Spawn. Because I know what I'm getting.
Yeah, Rusty and I have already lived together.
Do you like what you're getting?
I mean, we hardly ever saw each other, and I think that's perfect.
Fair.
We're both
fair.
creatures of habit. We go through the exact same routine. We work, and then we play video games while we're not working. It's a good routine. It kept us at separate ends of the houses a lot of the time. I think the routine worked.
Skimmy?
I feel like I'll choose you, Nick. Not that I want you to come to my place, but I want to go to yours because I feel like, when you've got all these kids in your house, because you live in this mansion, obviously, you've always got these kids maybe walking randomly into you and be like, "Daddy, attention, please," or maybe you're having to go check up on them because they've woken up. Well, I'd be the same. I'd be craving that attention. Maybe up at 3 a.m. playing solo queue, screaming, and you're like, oh, "Skimmy again," all candidly. and you'd come in and be like, what's wrong, buddy? And I'm like, I've just lost, my promos to gold division. And you'd be like, it's okay, you suck at the game, but that's okay. And then, I'd feel so wholesome inside. And life would go on, and it'd be the, what do they say? Is it the nuclear, the atomic family? Like the perfect family? Yeah, that's us. Yeah. I feel that bond already.
That's nice. So I definitely want to open my house to Skimmy. I don't need a third child. That is like that everything you just described sounds absolutely awful. I think I would. Spawn or Rusty? Spawn or Rusty? I feel like you're both pretty interchangeable. I'd take Rusty just because it would really make Spawn salty, because he obviously wants to come over here. He wants me to make him a cappuccino, and I'm not going to do it. So Rusty, congratulations.
I just blame
you.
Jenna.
You get the fifth.
Take Rusty. Rusty is just me with no baggage. That's what he is. He's me without a kid and without a partner. That is what it is. He's me from 12 years ago, however long ago it was.
100% true. I will point out as well that someone earlier mentioned something very nice. I can't quite remember their name, but they did say that a life hack they discovered because of all this is staying at home, having to watch Twitch. They found the OPL and they're loving it. So thank you very much, whoever that was, for watching. It would have been more impressive if I knew your name, but I'm not impressive. So there you go. What will be impressive is our final game for the day. It is Legacy versus Direwolves. We hyped this up as the banger of the evening. Rusty, are we still feeling that way?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be. This is definitely the one that's set up to be the most exciting. Both of these teams, I believe it's their only game today as well, and taking on each other. So they've had all the time to prepare for one another. I think this will be the game to watch, even just through perhaps the drafting.
Honestly, it's the only reason I haven't gone to bed yet. Contractual obligations aside, the only thing I've been waiting for is this absolute slaughter that is about to be witnessed by everyone in Twitch chat. I think that these two teams have both shown that in recent weeks they are in some good forms. Hiccup for Direwolves already, but I think Legacy taking care of business, and I want to see how they go toe-to-toe, because in my head, Direwolves, big split-push team fighting team against Legacy, really, really smart, tanky team. It's going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting indeed. It is also coming up right now after the Macca's Champ Select.
Feeling the heat? Grab a pineapple or pineberry frozen Fanta mix at Macca's. With 36 flavours, it's the largest range in Australia. Grab one for only $1. A little goes a long way at Macca's.
The final game is a banger. It's a top three all out of fair as Legacy take on the Direwolves in this situation. We need some energy, and this is a game, surely Spawn, that can bring us up to a state of entertainment for the viewers also at home.
Yeah, absolutely, Skimmy. If there is a game that you have been waiting for today, it must be this one. Direwolves versus Legacy to fight for who is the best team in green. I think that is the official title of this match. Also, mate, congratulations. 2 days. 12 games of League of Legends. You've gone the journey.
Yeah.
You can still talk. I'm surprised, but
my voice feels good. I've been
good.
so paranoid. I've been so damn paranoid that maybe I'll get a tickle of a sore throat. I'm like, is it COVID? Is it just overworking? But who knows? I've been drinking plenty of fluids, keeping myself ready to rock and roll here as we jump into this draft. And Direwolves and Legacy both going to open their accounts up with the top tier assassins in the Affiliates to Misfortune, because that's essentially what they are. They are just assassins so far and beyond the other ADCs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to summarize what these champions do, they have good wave clear, they have very high damage, they also one-shot people, and they are very, very tough to kill in team fights at times as well, Skimmy. So I agree with you. They're kind of the jack of all trades at the moment in the bottom lane. Feel like they've got overloaded kits despite their lack of real mobility. And interestingly enough, Legacy go towards a blind jungle pick into Miru when he is a very good Lee Sin player. And Lee Sin has a very nice time into the Olaf.
It's going to be interesting to see actually how that jungle matchup goes. And once again, this is a pick that we actually talked about in an earlier cast as to how Babbitt can play this Olaf. He can go from being carry-centric to very much a supportive jungler if required, if need be, if the game's not going in their favour. Bear in mind, both these teams in the last 8 games have only suffered 2 defeats. The most recent one obviously being for Direwolves last night. Ooh. So there's a lot of pressure, a lot of pride, but Legacy on the 4-win streak, surely you'd say have a slight edge in this matchup.
Skimmy, this is so interesting. Because I would agree with you. Legacy should have a slight edge in this matchup, but they've just counterpicked themselves in mid lane, and there's also a counterpick jungle on Summoner's Rift. If they do not get Yuumi, which they can't because it's banned, I think this is maybe a step too far by Legacy. I think maybe they've picked themselves a little bit too much scaling. And Direwolf should have a lot of control in this early game. Cassiopeia mid especially is going to really ruin Tally's day.
Senna is still available. I'm just looking through what is still available to try and maybe piece this all together. Both hard engaged supports have now been denied here by Legacy. So potentially, yes, still veering towards an Enchanter support or somebody quite squishy. They do decide to go for the Taric ban, and if there was a chance, potentially go for it now before Direwolves themselves, if they wanted it, could swipe it away.
Yeah, that's a really good ban. I like the Taric ban. The reason I like the Taric ban a lot is because you have a look at what this comp wants to achieve, and it's like a really quick snap decision team fight. Whereas on the flip side, you have a look at Direwolves' composition, they want something a little bit more drawn out, They don't want just an MF ultimate over the top of an Ornn ultimate. They want the consistent damage there from the Cassiopeia. They want Vital to be able to put out the consistent damage in this fight as well. So yeah. I think the Taric denial is going to be huge. Also removing the Victor, who is kind of Tally's best control mage from what we've seen so far, to give Cassiopeia more of that free run in the lane. And you know what? Just more mid-game power. Bring it on. The Direwolves really reading this mid-game meta and saying, we're going to beat Legacy before this team comp can come online.
Definitely feels like Legacy are almost going back to a slightly older version of them, which was to play a lot slower, kind of like when they first went up against the Chiefs. Although, in saying that, that first time they went up against each other, it was a lot of chaos. So let's scrap that idea for a second. Direwolves fully have their composition online now. And as you say, lots of aggression to really just close out these lanes to make sure that mid-game is incredibly strong. What is the wild card that Big Tally brings to the table here?
I don't think it's going to be. I think Tally's going to be on that rock in the mid lane on the Ornn, and I think this is going to be a top lane cannon to try and bully out Chippy's Renekton.
Okay.
So this is interesting. I would say, unless you are a really good Thresh, this bottom lane should be slightly Legacy favoured. I think jungle mid is an absolute wash, Direwolves favoured, and then top lane is Legacy favoured. I think the scaling is there for Legacy. Apart from the jungle pickup, I don't like Olaf in the current meta without Yuumi. But it's these 2v2, 3v3 pockets that Direwolves are going to be able to find that I'm really favouring. Because that's how I like to see League of Legends at the moment. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I like these little pockets of skirmishes that you can use to grab early dragons, use to grab early Rift Heralds, accrue yourself a gold lead, and try and continue to whittle away at teams. It looks like Legacy, however, have just got that big smash and grab comp. Everyone going in, Bard ult over the top of Cannon ult, over the top of the Ornn ult, Misfortune ult in there as well. That is a very big press R composition coming out of the Legacy.
The Wombo combo.
I can't even speak anymore, mate.
I know, mate, you're broken. But that's okay, because I had a thought of my own, which was the fact that Tapuna's not played a supporting champion like the Soraka in 5 games now. So he's definitely being told that, look, you got a little bit more creative freedom to kind of admit that pressure that we know that you can definitely bring to the game. I think the last time he played the Kennen, he just got like triple kills. He's an absolute monster on the Rift. So definitely a pick that I'm sure there's a lot of confidence in. I guess really what I'm trying to get at here is, given that they have such lane dominance in Direwolves' early game picks, and at least in such a great Drake solo clearer, you hope in a sort of sense that it's almost like Pentanet, where Legacy can maybe hold on, get a few of those items and feel like, okay, maybe we can test, and that Direwolves don't get too far ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, Jensen ran one of these comps earlier, and I think it was against the Chiefs, where he said, we just give the first 3 dragons, and then we win every team fight. And I think this is a similar comp. So this should be a situation where you give the first couple of dragons, you allow them to get into their mid game, but you hope the late game is there for your team.
Well, we're going to find out very shortly. One final break, then it's the final game of week number 9. We close out week 9 with the biggest game of our very first Super Week here in the OPL. It is Direwolves taking on Legacy. Both Legacy and Chiefs before this one were dead even. Now Legacy need to keep their win up to definitely keep themselves in with a shot at retaining that first place for playoffs for Sydney and Spawn.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see exactly how these teams approach this game. We kind of outlined in Champion Select that we think Legacy are going to play a little bit more slow, a little bit more to their strengths, and that we expect some smash and grab League of Legends from the Direwolves, Skimmy. So not only do we get to find out kind of where these teams sit in relative power rankings, but exactly what their preference in style is coming into the final week of the OPL.
It's always interesting, right? The dynamic shift between a best of one and then the subsequent best of fives that will be taking place in the not too distant future, and what you were prepared to reveal and prepare going into these best of one series. So definitely Direwolves looking for strength and looking to not allow Legacy to have that sort of free window into a late game scaling composition.
Yeah, and the thing about Legacy's comp is you just have to play a little bit better. And I mean, I know that sounds super obvious, right? But if you are Legacy's comp, you just have to have a little bit more discipline. You have to be willing to play the game a little bit more slowly. And at times that can be tough because, you see a juicy dragon that you want to take. You see yourself a juicy Rift Herald. You think, you know what, maybe if we land the perfect ultimate. But you have to be able to say, no, I'm better than that. I don't need the instant gratification, Skimmy. I'm in this for the long haul. And we'll see whether they're going to be able to do that. You can see Shock right now trying to bully a little bit, but Tally doing a good job of farming up. Now, I know personally that this lane doesn't get awesome for Cassiopeia until a tier purchase, but she can farm quite well until then. And any lane where Cassio gets a free tier is a scary lane at that.
I can imagine, and definitely going to be one to keep an eye on, but I guess we are going back to times of old really here with Tally's champion pool. Going to play a champ that can definitely flex in multiple lanes, most notably to his top lane roots. So there'll be proficiency definitely online to allow him to navigate through this laning matchup.
But that's really interesting to me because I've heard a couple of people say that, right? And I know Jimmy really well because he was on my team for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
As a top laner, all he ever wanted to do was play mages. Now as a mid laner, all he wants to do is play tanks. And during this off-season, he wanted to be an 80 carry. So we say things like going back to his roots, but his roots were as an 80 carry, and then he was a Riven one-trick, and then he became a mage player in the top lane, and now he's a tank player in the mid lane. So I don't know whether he really knows what the bloody hell he is what I'm trying to say, Skimmy.
Maybe he just wants to play League of Legends.
He is. He's a very good League of Legends player, and the one thing I will say about Tally is that he has a brilliant mind for the game. He is a very, very smart player. And I think that Legacy has only benefited from how smart he is and how well he shot calls. He also, for the benefit of the people at home, maxes E first on Ornn. Does the most damage on the champion if you can E forward on cooldown. It also is able to give you a lot of kill threat. So expect him to be an E max Ornn with that spellbook. He's going to look for a level 6 all in. He's going to try and kill Shock, I think.
It'd be interesting to see if he can actually get that online, because I'm imagining that would then really change the balance of power, noting that it is a bit of a counter matchup, especially with the tier online.
Yeah, well, we saw, I think, yesterday, Harry counterpick the Ornn with the Silas and still die in lane. I think Ornn is just really hard to counterpick, right? And that's why he is seen as kind of that consistently blind pickable tank. Whilst there are better tanks, quote unquote, like Mundo and Maokai that live for longer than Ornn, no one has his utility with levels, through the ornaments, and no one is kind of as safe in the laning phase as what Ornn is. So that's kind of why he still sits at the top of this table as a really, really good blind pickable safe tank.
It's definitely finding a lot of love in the region. One of the highest played champions. Still, that number one spot is taken by this man on the screen, which is Aphelios.
Isn't he disgusting?
Very prescient. The guy
I think
is insane, yeah.
It's a little bit different, right? I love games with Ornn in them. I think he makes the game very entertaining. I think, he's a big team fighter. I hate Aphelios, Skimmy.
Who actually likes them? Oh, so there we go. So Aphelios has been played 64 times, Ornn at 61. So both of these champions are like, we'll just pick them whenever we get the chance.
Yeah,
the first and second.
But I think, Ornn at the moment, I think his ornaments are a little bit too good. They need to be tapped down a little bit, I think, in gold value. Because it feels like if you do get late, you just win with him. But I think Aphelios just kind of feels like that all the time. Outside of level 1, his level 1 sucks. But outside of level 1, he's just so damn strong. Oh, Tally's in trouble here. He got tagged by that.
Yeah. I was gonna say before, he was doing a great job of actually keeping himself in a good position coming into level 6, but then bites off a fairly hefty trade, which may force him to wait for 6, wait for that gold point before he comes back with a reset on that teleport. But Babip is going to take that initiative and counteract the fact that Lee Sin now has to cover shock, giving a free dragon over to Legacy.
Yeah, and it has been scouted out, so you can see Ward did go down, but Babip, just really great timing. And I love to get a replay. I don't know if the observers are on comms, but what I actually want to see is the bottom lane was pushing really heavily for Vital, and Vital and Decoy actually got themselves a CS lead off it, right, Skimmy? But then what they did is they got the wave off the turret, and they started stacking a wave back, and that gave Legacy a one-window wave of, priority, where they were able to take this dragon. It also coincided on a time where Shock had ran so he had to go back to base. So I think that is just really great timing and understanding from the Legacy lineup of when they can start objectives and when they can't. Because now you can see they go back to Direwolves having priority in the mid lane, Direwolves having priority in the bottom lane. But for that one window when that wasn't the case, for the one window where, Direwolves weren't able to push, Legacy steal themselves a dragon.
They certainly do. And if you talk about Jensen highlighting the fact that we've played compositions like this in the past and we're not afraid to give over a fair few resources in the early game to allow ourselves to reach those critical items, those power spikes and levels to make sure that we can go toe-to-toe in these skirmishes or those team fights as they may be, they are definitely going to take those bounties when they're presented to them on a plate like that.
Yeah, and this is what I'm talking about. So have a look at this. The Cassiopeia is going back, and Raze and Isles, for the first time in the whole of the laning phase, had pushed. So that just means that no lanes can collapse. I don't know whether they spotted out exactly where Lee Sin was, but that is a beautiful demonstration on how, as a jungler, you were supposed to play around pushing lanes. That's really well done from Legacy. You can tell that they're a team that understands exactly what their comp's supposed to do.
Well coached and well rehearsed. We've seen it time and time again with some of their very creative level 1 strategies. Not afraid to abuse it. I think most notably it was when they versed Direwolves last time. And the fact is that they were able to pick up a double kill, taking out the jungle as well as Chippies, and really getting a solid lead in the early game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, now they're equal gold. The worst CS deficits they have are 10 and 10 in the bottom lane as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they get themselves the early dragon. Maybe they can flip into an early Rift Herald. They do have really good ultimates on the top side of the map. They have Kennen ultimate as well as Ornn ultimate. Maybe they can even win a cheeky 3v3 if they're able to blow someone up, like maybe a Cassiopeia. So yeah, I mean, I was speaking to actually Jensen, hold the thought, because that's a big all-in from Shock.
It is looking like an all-in attempt, and Babip is hungry on the chase. Out goes the ultimate to try and lock him in place and make him a stone, but he's already made a rocks, and he will find that first blood with Babip in support.
Told you Tally was going to kill him. I've just seen it so many times. You can't do that against Tally, unfortunately. If you waste the miasma, he's going to line you up with the ult and he's going to pound you with it. And that is exactly what happened in that trade. As Cassio, the reason you win this match is because as soon as he ults, you can just miasma your second part of the ult. You have to trade with Q and E. A little bit undisciplined from Shock. Burnt the flash as well in that, and he still falls down.
Rough situation in what was, as you say, considered a good matchup for him. Obviously very confident on this Cassiopeia, bear in mind. We've talked about it when he played it last. I believe it was, a couple of thousand games. So guy knows what he's up to. Just wasn't able to execute it on that front. And Legacy are going to continue to receive these 3 buffs to navigate themselves into what is a very scary mid-game for Direwolves.
And I feel like Direwolves have fallen down a couple of times in laning phase. And Chippies yesterday actually tweeted out, that was the worst he'd played. He was going to do better. But he's still down 20 CS in this laning phase. Now Shock's been solo killed. Miru's lost out on the first dragon and is actually down a level right now on where Babip is in this game. And I think a little bit too often for my liking at the moment, Skimmy, this team seems to be like, if it is to be, it's up to Mr. Vital in the bottom lane. And I don't think you can just put all of the carry threat on, the 17-year-old Korean import, because that's so high pressure going into the final series.
That becomes a big worry, and it feels a little bit similar of an identity to what has become now the Pentanet style of way, with them relying on ADC too. So it'll be interesting to see if that is the case, because they were ramping up so hard. The ultimate won't land here from Bob, but that won't stop the rest of Legacy chasing in. That goes to
great
Ragnarok.
stun.
That's a fantastic stun there by Bard. The exhaust goes out as well to Poon. Looks for the flash engage. Unable to execute it. I was very lucky to get out unscathed.
Yeah, great job from Direwolves to be able to pick up their first objective of the game, and now Vital's going to get so many turret plates. I think I mentioned this, but if you have the Chakram on Aphelios, leaving him by himself, despite having a Rift Herald, he will take the plates as quickly as the Herald will. You just saw how quickly he melted through 2 of those plates on one wave. It's a big gold lead swinging back into the bottom laner of the Direwolves. Also now, floating between the Gravitum and the Sniper Rifle gives him a lot of control in these extended skirmishes. So he would love to be able to take those guns into a dragon fight for himself. No ultimate available on Topoon or Babip. So I think that if there is a dragon you let go as a legacy lineup, it is this one right now. So maybe Direwolves getting a window to be able to play that earlier focus game style, just due to a little bit of an overreach in the bottom side jungle of the Direwolves.
Well, this would be a nice play for them if they can achieve it. As you can see there, Miru with the Rift Herald in his possession.
Nah, they still want to fight. Miru, you can't be here anymore, mate.
He has to disengage away. Yeah, Legacy just
Yes,
pile
the flash
drive
if
in.
he wants out. Oh, he has a control ward. Okay, so they give up the
dash. Dragon picked up. Legacy have 2 to their name now. And we are going to get a Cloud Rift.
Okay, not the best Rift, I think. I don't know whether either team really loves the Cloud Rift all that much. Obviously, Olaf loves Cloud Dragon, but this isn't a composition that's built solely around Olaf. Topoon actually likes it. I would say Legacy like it a lot more than what the Direwolves do. You know, certainly would have preferred a Mountain Dragon, however, on the Legacy lineup if they could have been able to pick exactly which dragon they wanted of the remaining. Chippies is getting bullied up here. This is starting to look ugly, Skimmy.
Yeah, well, you can see his health bar drop to half. And the power of Renekton, right? He's rushed straight for that Tiamat. He's going to request that Miru gets amongst it. This is a scary situation. He actually sidesteps the kick. The Sonic Wave in. Topoon, please, you're smurfing. It's going to result in multiple members TPing in to try and make this happen, and Miru just gets dropped and deleted. No gank attempt, no kill, no Rift Herald to really utilize this any further. They're not done there, however, Spawn. They want more. That's a beautiful miasma locking in 4 people, but they smile for the camera, and they stop you smiling yourself as Shock falls down 2 for a double.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Legacy right now just looks like they're in their element. They're getting the team fights with 5 members on the screen earlier than you would have thought. Babip continues forward. Nearly gets himself that kill. And Topoon in the bottom lane as well, mate. You got a lot of fights here.
Vital. Not going to fall on down today, though. Still going to hang on to that CS advantage, but Raze will be able to even things out here by looking to achieve a fair bit of turret plating gold to his name.
And if you're the Direwolves right now, you're probably already in panic mode because this was your last roll of the dice. But this is why people
sidestep.
Love Topoon. That is just such a clean sidestep. Tally already with the ultimate across. You can see Chippy even has to flash this one because he knows if he gets knocked up, he probably will fall down. Bard ultimate comes in, has to be sidestepped forward by Shock because he doesn't have the flash available. That's why you always throw Bard ults deep, by the way, because if they continue to walk into them, obviously the CC is there. But if you force them to walk back, it is just as good. Shock and Miru going to get a little bit of gold from this turret. A couple more plates fall down, but you feel like the damage at this stage has well and truly been done, Skimmy. The early game skirmish comp has not come online whatsoever.
It absolutely hasn't, and Legacy will have that gold advantage. And will be feeling pretty comfortable in the spot they find themselves in right now. You know, next Drake up in 2 minutes and 20. And what was a rough start for them on paper, they've been able to keep cool, keep calm, and keep collected. And, you know, a lot of that stems from the fact that Topoon hasn't been seen to be ganked on upon much. And Tally was able to find that all in at 6.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, you know, this was really well read. If you have watched a lot of the Legacy games and you've listened to what their players kind of say about how they want to play League of Legends, this is exactly what they go towards every single time around, Skimmy. And I think that Direwolves had a good draft to be able to counter that, so credit to Kai there and being able to put that one together. But I think their players have just kind of let down the game plan. They gave over the first dragon off a tempo window, which kind of was unforced. It's an unforced error, if you will. And then the second time around, Shock just way too aggressive. Top lane was the losing lane. You know, you pick Renekton as a melee lane bully, so as soon as Topoon went a mage, it was always going to be this way. But Chippy, it's so sad.
It really is. He's going to go straight on in with that Dominus, but the result is he gets dominated, and that turret will fall down as well to compound it that much more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you can see right now that they're trying to play towards Vital again. He's the last bastion of hope for this team. He's been able to pick himself up a couple of turret plates down in the bottom lane. Miru and Decoy are now trying to team up, but that's just leaving Chippies on an island. An island. And Chippies isn't a good island player. Despite being from New Zealand, one of the most beautiful islands in the world, he likes to be playing with his jungle. He likes to be playing this 2v2, or he likes to be isolated 1v1. If you ever leave him by himself as a weak side top laner, he has the propensity to fall down. And that's what we're seeing right now. He's getting bullied, he's getting picked on, and he's about to lose 2 turrets in that bottom lane. And that's a huge lead for Topu.
Maybe that is the secret formula for this team. Perhaps that they need to have the gaming house in New Zealand for these boys to pop off on. Because Decoy is going to fall on down too. They tried to make plays in top lane, they get punished again. And honestly, Shock really isn't having the best time here. He's getting bullied so damn hard. Yes, the CS is even, but he's 0-3 now.
Mate, he's been destroyed this game. He has been absolutely taken to the cleaners. Jimmy would be having the time of his life in this matchup. He's equal farm after being counterpicked. They gave him the pick of all the counterpicks that they wanted as well. He's about to get his 3rd dragon as well. The legacy lineup with the better scaling comp is also hugely ahead. He walked the short way through the lane this time, and he missed the miasma as well. I mean, nothing went right there. That's a straight up solo kill. Like, that's a disaster, to be honest.
It hurts to see. It really does. And look, we were coming into this and thinking this was going to be a much closer affair. This was hyped to be the game of this first Super Week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was supposed to be, before the week started, for who was the best team in the comp. Chiefs obviously have now probably staked their claim to that as well. But Direwolves, they've only beaten Order, I believe, this weekend. So definitely not the biggest weekend to brag about. And you can see that they're also getting collapsed on again.
That's going to be a nice little catch there, as Decoy gets caught looking to try and get some vision down for his team. Unfortunate timing, however, with that Rift Herald being present and multiple members of Legacy sniffing for trouble. Things are getting from worse to just complete doom, really, for Shock here. I was going to say from bad to worse. I was trying to think of, adjectives on the fly.
Yeah, I know what you're
Shock
saying,
is in
mate.
trouble.
What you're saying is this game's been a disaster.
Yeah.
And that Legacy not in as bad a situation as what Mammoth were. Let's not go too far, right? So let's choose my words carefully here. However, they have lost 3 turrets. They're about to have lost 5. Oh, Shock. No.
Brittle after brittle. Miasma comes out very early on.
Oh, just auto.
Tally! Oh. It takes Isles to go to that island and say Chibro.
I mean, is that the 4th solo kill of the game? Like, I know that wasn't a solo kill, that Isles technically was there. But Tally did 95% of his health again.
I think there's only been, is it once that he's had backup and assistance? Otherwise, he's just finding love.
He's having a great time of it. Topu, meanwhile, maybe caught out.
Potentially skirmishes everywhere. Flashes burnt.
In 3 seconds. Does he chase for it? He does.
Surely. With Proto Belt and the skills, one stroke and misses, but the second lands. Tapoon, well, you were looking at that in the early game as a beast to win his matchup, and he's definitely exerting that across the rest of the map now.
And Skimmy, I said that I was starting to fear that the OPL had become the old predictable book from 2016, that everyone beats everyone, and then it's Chiefs versus Legacy. And coming into this weekend, I was sure that the league was not that way, that there were other teams that had fighting hopes to be able to take out an OPL title. But after this Super Week, everyone has beaten everyone. And Chiefs and Legacy look like the 2 best teams in the league. And I would say, convincingly, they look like they are the 2 best teams in the league at the moment.
It's interesting, right, how it's happened in that kind of fashion, because, it was definitely the Chiefs and Legacy show for the most part. Then we came into, week 6 or 7 when there were some upsets that started to take place. And we're thinking, oh, hang on a minute. How did this take place, right? And then Direwolves just creeping along and saying, look, we're definitely going to start breaking our way in. Yes, playoffs is looking fantastic for us, but first and second, we're coming for you. And, in this week alone, yes, the situation is, not ideal on a global front, but they just haven't looked the same as they have in the studio.
And obviously not excuses, because we don't do that on the OPL, but maybe a couple of reasons for it was Direwolves and Order did have big disruptive weeks when, the first move to online did happen and they were forced to park some of their games. Now, what's that meant is that they've had to prepare for more teams on this weekend than otherwise they would have liked to. I don't think that should impact such a game like Legacy, because you should always be ready to play Legacy if you are the Direwolves. This is one of the teams in the league that you need to know the most about, because you're probably thinking you're going to play them in a final series at some point, Skinny. So I don't think that impacts this game whatsoever. But maybe it was just a little bit of that momentum breaker that the Direwolves couldn't afford, because you're right, it looked like the hype train was rolling. But I think that what we're seeing right now is just not even individual skill. This is teamwork and cohesion. And you're seeing how polished Legacy is and how well Jensen has this team set up for success. Because this is a different composition. We haven't seen anyone play Ornn Kennen in the OPL so far, but they are making it look very, very good.
They're making it looking scary broken right now, I'll tell you that much. We're going to utilize that Herald to find value in the top lane, and now that is a inhibitor turret that is open for the taking, should they decide to turn their attention towards it. Going to go for a reset, it would appear. But I'm seeing zeros across the board right now. It's a flawless game for Legacy, as they now have a sole point on the table in 15 seconds.
Yeah, it was nearly a perfect game. They've lost one turret in top lane, which they traded for a kill and 2 turrets in the bottom lane. So they certainly won the trade. But all in all, this game has been very, very one-sided from the get-go. And really, there's no reason for it. I think that they had good mid-jungle pick up here. They could have looked for a little bit more play. They had good priority for most of bottom laning phase. In fact, it's still a 30 CS lead for Vital, so he's definitely done his job. You don't expect him to be able to pick up the kills in the laning phase against a Bard Misfortune, but definitely was able to get himself a CS lead. But it has just been, the Tally and Babip show, to be honest. Throw in a sprinkling of Top Earn as he's destroyed Chippies in the top lane, and that's just a recipe for a very, very good early to mid game. They've now got themselves an air soul at 22 minutes. Skinny, we're going to see a 28-minute Elder Drake.
I know, the quickest I believe we've ever had.
This is maybe even quicker than Legacy wanted it. They maybe wanted a 35-minute team fight, but unfortunately they're just too damn good, so they got themselves a 28-minute team fight.
Isn't that like the epitome of first world problems, right? When you're just too good at the game and you're thinking this wasn't meant to be how the script went, and you're sort of looking at Jensen and going, it says here at 35 minutes we should have accomplished this. We're doing it at 22 minutes. How do I really interpret the strategy? But
yeah, absolutely.
Say, Cloud Soul was there. Maybe they go from buff to buff, but they're going to complete the priority in mid lane again. Maybe assert some vision dominance and then try and draw in Direwolves maybe for that Baron team fight.
And this is what you do. You know with an Ornn that you're not going to take any damage from it. You've got a Bard, so if they face check, you're in a great position. Instead, you just tank it up with the Ornn. You leave them on the flanks. If they approach, you look for the fight. If not, you just keep baiting them in. Look at the bottom lane building. Look at the top lane building. Someone has to deal with these creep waves eventually. I guess you're just going to maintain their mid-prio. They know they've got them on a clock so far. Honestly, this is really, really nerve-wracking stuff if you're the Direwolves. However, I feel like we're going to find out a lot about the Direwolves. They are a snowbally team. How do they deal with this from behind? In a best of 5, you have to be able to take games like this and maybe not win them, but look like you can be dangerous, look like you can win. But right now, they are going for a recall, and that is going to be Baron started up.
Played a game of chicken, and finally Direwolves respond by
look at Top Earn's positioning, mate. He's going to kill everyone.
Absolutely, he's done this time and time again in a perfect flanking spot. Here he goes, gas on the pedal, the Nos is unleashed, and Need for Speed Styles, he jumps in and finds the first kill. He's desperate and hungry for a second, and there it is, double kills on the score sheet for him. They were ever so clean and hungry and ready to rock and roll with that team fight. And as soon as you said it, that flank attempt was over from then.
Yeah, I mean, Top Earn just brilliant positioning. Who is ever going to check that? You get the blast plant over if they go too deep. You have to flash engage if they try and retreat away. And you can see that they knew they were on a time of their dial. Bottom lane was pushing too much. Mid lane priority had been re-established. Legacy were just putting this team to the grind. And unfortunately, they are starting to collapse. We'll take another look at this. They run into the choke point. This is why you approach Baron from mid lane, guys. This is why you have to go through your solo queue checklist of do we have mid lane priority? Can we actually contest this objective? The answer is, if they have a cannon, go through bloody mid lane. Otherwise, he's going to kill everyone.
Mention that there, Spawn. Education as well as entertainment, keeping the viewers clued up at 10 p.m. in the evening.
I mean, this is the thing about League of Legends, is it seems like such a basic game on the surface, right? Mid lane priority, into vision, into hit the Baron, into bait out all the blue orbs. Like, Legacy did it really, really well. And yet we see teams like Order get caught on those steps. And I think that that's what changes from, like, someone that knows about the game to, like, someone that is a master about the game, right? And you can see that right now, the Legacy lineup is so confident that they are not making mistakes in their steps. They're just going through the checklist very cleanly. They are still yet to give over a kill. Their mid game has even been more impressive than their early game, to be honest, Skimmy, which is saying something. And I cannot wait to watch Legacy versus Chiefs. Like, I just bring the game on right now. I would cast a 7th if you had that game lined up for me, because that will be a very entertaining affair.
The mental boom from you before has perhaps been refreshed by the prospect of a fantastic game, and there's still hope as Chippy's manages to dash away, burns up the stopwatch, or actually the Zonias, because that's how far ahead Topoon is right now. It's going to be staggered death time here if a fight were to take place elsewhere on the map, as Legacy are working their way towards a inhibitor to open up that win condition.
And when the teamfight build cannon is able to 1v1 the split pushing Renekton, that's when the game's in very big trouble. Renekton should be able to heal up. He should have options, mate, but he does not at this stage of the game. 5-0 and 3. Topoon, who I thought was the best player coming into the OPL at the start of the season, was probably going to be Legacy's best player, has started to show his dominance. Another engage coming in.
Bard ult won't land, but it will make these members dash away, which opens up this inhibitor. Mid lane has been broken. Now they can turn their attention to top side, still utilizing that Baron buff to escort these minions in and potentially look at a second.
And what was supposed to be game of the day has turned into an absolute bloody shellacking, because it could be over right here. Chippies is going to respawn, but no flashes available on the two solo laners. Ultimate back available for Topoon. Does he look for it? No, they are going to do the discipline thing. They are going to back away. The only critique I could have of Legacy is if they hit this Elder Drake. Because I think if they hit the Elder Drake, there is a chance that Miro steals it, even though he's 3 levels down. And maybe the game becomes a disaster. But if they just play for bottom lane inhibitor here, this has been a flawless game, Skimmy.
Well, the Elder Drake that you mentioned will be up in 35 seconds.
Oh no, Topoon.
Topoon is going to scout out these members who are hungry to assert some dominance to potentially give them a chance to even enter that Dragon Pit. But wherever you go, this man follows, and the gold leader really says it all for you, right? 3k up, the guy can do it all. Split push and team fight.
So we'll see what the play is to win this game. You can see Topoon up 3,000 gold. Tally also up a couple of thousand. Vital still within touching distance of his 80 carry counterpart. But as I said, Skimmy, I don't want to see them go towards this dragon. They are actually going to go for it. So they're going to try and bait him in. They're going to try and pick it up. This is a resounding shellacking.
Only raised to start things off as the rest of the members stand around.
He's just soloing it.
He's going to solo it. As you can see, top lane is pushing on in. That's going to start working towards Nexus turret. So what is Legacy's plan? Let's delay your recalls and get everything.
I mean, that's the nice way to do Elder Dragon. I take back everything I said. That's even more demoralizing. Knowing the misfortune can just solo it. Holy crap. And they lose a base turret for it as well.
This will become the flawless game unless a team fight breaks out and they just find at least one.
And I think the only way they get kills is with the Nexus dive. Because I honestly think if Topoon just flashes on top of everyone dies in the ultimate.
Let's see if we get one of those highlight reel moments. Again, Bard going out with the ultimate, unable to find a target to collapse upon, but the third inhibitor will fall on. They look to try and make this play. My stream is lagging right now, Spawn, so I don't see anything, but I am back! The second Nexus turret is there. It is standing healthy at the moment, but it won't be feeling like that in a second. Elder Drake, surely a team fight to take place.
Surely, mate. I think this is just, it's becoming a game of minion turret defense. They're trying to get set up as best they can, but I don't think they can do anything.
Here comes the ultimates. They're going to jump on in, and Topoon finds one before he goes in with that Zonia's 2 kills found so far. Chip is exhausted, dashing in for the 1v4 dream. He wants to put some bastion of hope on his shoulders. He wants to give a dub to the boys in green, but this all green affair will be nothing but a legacy. 16 kills to 0, 5 Drakes to the name, a Baron and everything else. They surely are making a case as the most dominant team in the OPL.
That was a brutal, brutal game. Legacy just took whatever they wanted on Summoner's Rift there, Skimmy. Mid lane dominance. top lane dominance. Babip with a great jungling performance as well versus Miru in a counter matchup.
Come here.
Carved very happy.
That's the
was
carbon response.
just so
That's the legacy win right there.
0 kills.
Actually,
That
so
zero.
flawless.
And why
Beautiful.
wouldn't you be happy, Skimmy?
Why wouldn't
Why
you be?
would you not be happy?
It was actually really funny because I went out into the kitchen before. I was like, "What do you think about this draft?" And he was like, I think it's a little bit rough if Genon dies." And I was like, "Okay, that was your input." And then Tapoon just sidesteps the Sonic Wave in. I was just like, "That's never going to happen."
Well, there you go. I take it back. That was watching a backpacker get murdered for money. That was... Oh, good lord. Good lord.
Why do you keep
was a
saying that like
crime.
it's a genuine form of entertainment?
It's the plot of Hostel, man. Get some culture in you. Okay. What a day. My goodness. What a weekend. I just feel like yesterday was so filled with surprise and intrigue. And then today was just so filled with gut-wrenching, dominating brutality. And I'm not just talking about the lengths
reality
of the
checks.
night, guys. Reality checks is
It was
probably
reality
a good
checks
way
and
of
sadness.
yeah. That's we really ended on a bummer there. I mean, not if you're Carbon, obviously. He's pumped. He's gonna push on for the rest of the night. But this was certainly a hell of a weekend. We saw 12 games of League of Legends. Once again, Skimmy, the man, the myth, an incredible job casting all of them. To go over today's results, Avant Gaming versus Order. Order take the first win of the day. Chiefs take out Gravitas for game 2. Order then making up for their double loss yesterday with a double win today. Order over Mammoth for game 3. Gravitas win over Pentanet.gg for game 4. Chiefs crush Mammoth for game 5. And Legacy ruin Direwolves for game 6 in not necessarily the banger of the day, but certainly the surprise of the day, Rusty.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those two last games were absolutely putting us on the weekend, but not looking nearly as dominant or perhaps top 3 threatening as we expected to see in this coming week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Indeed.
think now what this does set up is the final game of next week, which is Legacy versus Chiefs. And if everything is how it should be, that will be the game for first. That is just such an exciting way to finish the season.
Yeah.
It is indeed. And so it opens up a lot of opportunities for those teams still clambering to get into the top 5 over the coming week. Let's take a look at the schedule for next week. How are we starting? There you go. Another hefty 6 games for your Friday night. There's no AFL, no NRL. There's a lot of OPL next week. Mammoth versus Avant for game number 1. Gravitas take on Legacy game 2. Pentanet.gg versus Order. Direwolves against the Chiefs. Legacy up against Pentanet. And Avant Gaming taking on the Direwolves for game 6. Another stacked night coming your way. And a massive thank you to all of you watching for not only being the wonderful viewing audience that you are, but for your patience when it comes to some of the technical hiccups we've seen this weekend, which I could say barely any considering how much effort has gone into taking this entire league, this entire broadcast online. There's basically not a single person who's working on this show is working in the same location as another. So a massive thank you to the Riot crew. You guys have done a phenomenal job. And it's a real testament to all the hard work that we managed to get through 12 games. So the biggest weekend of the split so far is also the first weekend where we've been entirely online. And it will continue for the rest of the split unless anything drastic changes. So settle in and get comfortable. We'll get more comfortable over the course of the week, won't we, Spawn?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what a way to be able to do it, mate. From all of our bedrooms, from your guest room, from my library, apparently. It's been a fun weekend.
May your pies not be soggy next week. May Rusty and my cameras not cut out. May Skimmy figure out, I don't know, something else to hang on the back of his wall. May you guys come back for more OPL action for next Friday. A massive thank you to McDonald's for making all of this possible. We'll be back with more OPL and League of Legends action next Friday. See you then.
強く強く輝いて消えた流れ soleil.